Live from the Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea, Ohio, this is Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
We're 4-4. We have to get a win. Our lives depend on it. Is the way we look at it. We're desperate.
Need some forced fumbles. Need some bigger plays. Need something that's going to change the momentum of games. Because sacks have been great. It's knocked them back. Held some points off the board. We need to start getting points on the board from us being on the field.
Burrow takes the snap, play action fake, back in the pocket, throws, right sideline, and picked off. They got it down the sideline. It's Denzel Ward. He's to the 35-40. He's to the 50. He's to the 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! A pick six. Denzel Ward is back. Burrow in the shotgun. On fourth down, back to pass, in the pocket, stutter step, getting blitz, getting away, throwing it down the left sideline. It's incomplete. As the Browns had the receiver, Tyler Boyd smothered down there on the far left side. Troy Hill was over there, but they had great pressure in the pocket, and the ball goes over on downs to Cleveland. In the pocket, loads up, going long. Peoples-Jones is out there. He's got it. 10-5, touchdown! And there is the explosive play. They just exploded. Burrow back to pass, and Myles Garrett's got him, and he knocks him down at the 24-yard line.
He just went around the left tackle like he was standing in cement.
Turns, gives, Chubb runs, 30, 35, there he goes, 40, 45, 50, there he goes, 40, he's running to the river, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Nick Chubb!
Is he in the river yet?
He's in the river! And the Browns lead 30-10. He just hit him for 70. Back is Burrow, throws the slant. It's tipped and picked off. John Johnson III's got it. 30, 25, cut back 20, 15. He's to the 10. He's inside the 10. Down near the 6-yard line. Denzel Ward deflected it, and it was picked off by John Johnson III. 32 yards on the return. Turn on the faucet. Here come the turnovers. The Battle of Ohio put this one in the Browns column as they dominate at Paul Brown Stadium today. It was all Browns right from the outset. Denzel Ward started it, and everybody else chipped in. The final score today, the Browns 41 and the Bengals 16. A big win for the Browns. They're over 500 again and back in it at 5-4.
Here are your hosts, Beau Bishop and Nathan Zegura.
Can I interest you in a Victory Monday? Let's do it live, kids. How you living, Z?
What a difference a week makes. It's pure joy.
What sense do you make of the last 10 days?
You know what?
To take that type of emotional roller coaster and to try to make sense of it, and it's not just here. I mean, the league was drunk yesterday. The league was absolutely inebriated yesterday with the results that we saw. Ours was not. Ours was one. You had your head coach. Oh, very interesting for the senior swing. He's got it's very interesting. Sacks of goodies for senior swing.
What's that about?
On a Victory Monday. I'll tell you what. There are few people whose sacks of swag I would want to know what is in sight unseen and have more than his.
Yeah,
those would be.
I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Investigatory journalism right now,
folks. Your head coach Kevin Stefanski, who's from a hyperbole standpoint, 10 being most hyperbolic a coach can be, 1 being the least, is a 0. Like, he refuses to participate in any sort of hyperbole. There is none. Said last week, desperate. Use the word desperate. You and I were sitting here when he said it. Whoa,
life and death.
We have not heard that. We have not heard that. And then to get that performance when you just had to have it, buddy.
You had to.
You had to have it.
You had to have it, and this is one of probably my favorite Browns games of my time here because the stakes were so high, because the opponent was so good, and you went out there and your stars all showed up. Everybody that you wanted to see come in and make a big play did, whether it's Denzel with the opening pick six, John Johnson. This is something we'll talk a lot about is, they said, we need to get John Johnson back to playing the football that he played in LA that made us want him here. And so we need Ronnie, we need Grant, we need you to step up on the back end so that we can move John Johnson closer to the line of scrimmage. Well, guess what? They did, and he was directly involved in 2 turnovers, punched one out, and then got the interception off of a Denzel pick. I thought this was Denzel's signature game. Myles Garrett getting around the quarterback all the time. Again, Baker efficient. I mean, he had a perfect passer rating for a majority of the first half and even into the third quarter. Nick Chubb, long touchdown run. DPJ, bomb. It was everything you wanted and everything you needed it to be, and I loved it. And I'll tell you, there was palpable emotion on that sideline. There was joy. There was brotherhood. There was a bond that was very, very strong and very, very evident. And it was a game where they came in here, and it was business. And look, if you're Baker Mayfield, and I'll even say it to Donovan Peoples-Jones because he and I joked about it, now that he's 2 games there have featured 2 big touchdowns from DPJ. Baker loves playing in that stadium. He plays very well in that stadium. Last week of 2019 out. That season at that point was well lost.
Yeah.
Other than that, the guy has been nothing short of spectacular and gone on and plays phenomenally well there. And it was great to see.
Yeah, I think if you go back to some of the conversations we had last week about being glad that the game was down there, I think it allowed for some of the things that you saw, some of the bunker mentality.
Circling the wagons.
Yeah, that you saw from our team. I'll be very candid with you. I had no idea what we were going to get Sunday. And I know people say, well, yeah, of course not. It's the NFL. Anything can happen week to week. No, there was a wide canyon of possibilities here from my vantage point. I could see it going the way that it went. I could see us absolutely beasting them. Absolutely. I could see them beasting us.
I thought those were the only outcomes. I thought we were
the middle road seemed,
I didn't see it. I didn't see anything in the middle.
Yeah, it felt like it could have gone a lot of different ways, though.
Yeah.
And it went the way that it went, and you didn't feel great about it early. That is Denzel Ward's signature play of his career as a Cleveland Brown. When you think of the importance of it, you think about what they were about to do, drive right down the field methodically, get a touchdown. He jumps the route for Jamar Chase against his former teammate Joe Burrow. Who knows how many times he's seen that in practice and would know the tendencies of that going back to their time at Ohio State. So that is a signature play. I want to talk about the other corner for a second because Greg Newsome was sublime in coverage. Sublime. Folks, as much as we wanted Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and we would have taken him in the first round, the idea that Greg Newsome got there and you're able to take him lets you know his high-end talent level, and it was on full display yesterday. He is a number 1 corner in this league.
Greg Newsome is a stud.
That's right.
Plain and simple, and the players know it. He knows it in a quiet, confidence way, just like Kevin Stefanski is. By the way, I just received an update. What's in the bag? Senior swag bag must be epic. Gifts for you, Beau and Gibby. Happy Victory Monday.
I'll explain it all in commercial break.
Well, all right.
Are
you up and running here on a Monday edition of the program?
Nope.
Are you in possession of this already?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he and I have already had the conversation.
Goodness gracious.
Gosh. Oh,
me.
My
wow.
word.
Back to Greg Newsome, which is also
How can
a
I
gift.
finish this safe? I want to go to break.
We're going to get there.
Don't be a little bee.
Eye on the
big
prize.
bee.
That's right. We're professionals. So
the prize is in there.
Well,
senior
we're going to get there,
bags?
though. It's at the end of the
Come
light
on.
at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get there. What I was going to say is last week, there are a lot of great route runners in the National Football League. Right now, for my money, he may not be number 1, but in terms of the guys that we've seen this year,
Yeah.
I think he is number 1 because he's a little bit faster than it. Look, of course, he's not DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is probably the best receiver we've seen so far this year.
He certainly will be.
But Deontay Johnson is one of the most difficult guys to stick with in the league.
Yeah.
And you saw that last week. And then as soon as Greg Newsome went on him, and Greg actually asked him about, and he's as shifty and difficult to stick with as they come. He was there with him. And then you go to this week.
Yeah.
And Jamar Chase is real impressive in person.
Yeah.
Real impressive. And he's probably in that ilk of guys that are tougher, and he's a little bit bigger than Deontay.
Stronger,
a little bit stronger. Maybe faster, probably. Maybe straight line. I really don't know what they ran.
Quickness.
But
yeah.
He's not as shifty, but he's big and he's smooth. He looks. You're like you're watching some. This is greatness. Greg Newsome was right with him all over the field.
Made up ground.
The ball skills, and you could say, all right, but Burrow needed to put that 2 yards out there. I saw that. The fact that he double shook his shoulders, was able to get there and break that up, incredible. And the one in the end zone that people are saying Chase dropped, his hand was right in the middle of both of his hands and made it impossible for him to catch that ball. Greg Newsome is a stud. And when this defense, which, by the way, has given up 16 or fewer points already this season in 5 of our 9 games, this defense has a real opportunity to become elite. And Troy Hill's playing well. Now John's near the line of the scrimmage. Awak had a great game. You're going to get JOK back. You know what you can do up front already. It's pretty incredible to see.
Yeah, and you were reminded, you just get sick when you see Greedy go down with the shoulder again, but you remind, and hopefully I didn't hear Coach. Did he address Greedy, the situation there?
Day to day.
So
they got some good news back on the testing this morning.
Well, that's very, very good news. But the other part of it is you now have insurance if something happens. That's what Troy Hill was about. That's what drafting Greg Newsome, number 1. You now have legitimate depth in the secondary. A.J. Green was out there, didn't do anything to embarrass himself, was more than fine and more than capable when Denzel was getting oxygen. You have true organizational depth on the defensive side of things. Miles is obviously a superstar and the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. That's what he is at this point. As long as we win, he'll win that award. Period. Right. That's where you're at on that front. We're 12 minutes into this thing, and Baker Mayfield needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit how well he plays down there. I think this was the most pressure, and don't take my word for it. Take Jake Trotter, because Jake's known him going back to Oklahoma. This is the most pressure that he's had going into a game. Last week was noisy. It was noisy.
Boy, was it.
It was noisy. And this shocked, surprised, stunned. You picked the S adjective to describe how he felt about what happened on Tuesday of a week ago, and the fact that this was a guy that he viewed as a friend who won't return calls, all of those things. But it all landed at his feet. It all landed at his feet. And the pressure that was building over the course of days and hours leading up, I can't even imagine. I texted you before the game. I said, give me a read, bud. What do you see down there? What do you see with him?
He was in another zone that I've never seen him in, and I didn't know how to necessarily read it. He was so locked in and focused on what the task was at hand. He had some words, came out for his first warm-up, had some words with just the guys. He wanted to be very private, and then he was just kind of it honestly was. It's weird because I think he was so amped, and then you got to remember we didn't touch the ball until there were 4 minutes left in the first quarter, or 4.5. They took 10 minutes off the clock, 10 and change. He was just pacing up and down the sideline, wasn't really talking to anybody. He was in his own world. And then when he got out there, he just let it rip. And it was great to see. I mean, you talk about a guy, that throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones, big time. As he's getting hit from the right side.
Yeah.
Big time. The throw to Njoku, which you were bonkers about the second half. You go, can't wait till we watch this. We just watched on the film the anticipatory throw, the ball placement, the velocity, the confidence, all of it. Big time. He made a lot of just great throws.
On the sidelines, is that the one you're talking about, or the deep one? The one on the sideline?
I'm talking about the bomb.
The
one on the sideline.
Yeah,
that could have been
right
roughing as well. Put it right out there. DPJ makes the catch, gets up, hits him with the bye. Don't get me started on the fact that they needed him to be checked for a concussion because it was a helmet-to-helmet hit, but it wasn't flagged. Same place where, if you recall, Jabril Peppers was flagged against Jeff Malone, I believe it was, not the former basketball player, but the receiver at the time.
Good little shooter in the little baseline jump shot.
He had a nice.
Real high release out of Jeff Malone.
It was.
Real high release, yeah.
Silky. He was silky back in the day for the youngsters out there.
For the kids.
This was, for a lot of guys, very much a defining game, and I thought for Baker it was as well. From a clean pocket, 11 of 15, 114 yards. From a under pressure, 3 of 6 for 104 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that includes the two big-time throws to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Both of those came under duress. Here we go. 3 of 4 on passes of more than 20 yards in the air. 3 of 4 for 109 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
He had 0 turnover-worthy plays, 4 big-time throws in the game. He was sensational, and I think he answered a lot of the critics. And at this point, as we said going into the week, it doesn't matter. What is what is. And now you're seeing a guy who played free, played confident, slung it, and looked like that. By the way, threw the ball with touch when it called for it.
Everything.
Yeah. And just like last year, when all of a sudden it seemed like you go to Cincinnati and things clicked, back to Cincinnati, some similarities, things clicked.
We talked about this off air. Doesn't need to get into, but it's just something. We had Jake on last week talking about this. There's just something that's different when Odell wasn't on the field. When he was here, and now that he's not, Baker's better. I don't understand it. Doesn't matter. We don't need to. Not our problem anymore. But the Baker Mayfield that played on Sunday, the offense that we played on Sunday, is one that is going to cause people a lot of problems. I thought Nance and Romo did a good job of reminding everybody that Kareem Hunt is coming back to this football team. And you're talking about playing in November, December, and January with those two backs. And by the way, Nick Chubb, my God. My God. Folks, you can't do what he does this regularly. You don't break off 70-yard runs at his size that regularly. He does it often. It's crazy how good he is. It is crazy how good he is consistently.
So that run, which you're referencing the 70-yarder, Wyatt Teller, great job. Jed Wills and Harrison Bryant at the second level. Wyatt
Put
Teller.
that on a T-shirt. Him horizontal.
Wyatt Teller's great in this one, by the way. 94.3 at Pro Football Focus, one of the highest individual game grades anybody's ever gotten in the game.
That's right.
Nick Chubb on that play, and I don't know what it looked like to you on television. I'll tell you what it looked like to me because I always stay like 30 yards ahead of the play.
Yeah,
I'm always
right.
ahead of the play. I saw him come through. I saw Wyatt basically pulled from my vantage point right at me. I saw the hole open up. I saw him. And then all of a sudden, what I believe I saw was somebody pressing the fast forward button, and he just went like – it just looked different, almost like there was a glitch in the Matrix, and then he was gone, like zzz, and he was – So I see him after the game because we were a little delayed, so everybody was just kind of hanging out. So I saw him after the game, and I said, dude, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. When you accelerated, it literally looked to me, from my eyes, like you were running on fast forward. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah, really. And then he goes, Nick goes, I didn't even think it was that fast. I'm like, well, it was. And I'm curious to see when you watch it back what you think. And then one of the other guys walked by and was just laughing. I didn't think it was fast.
The term shot out of a cannon is what that was.
You're not supposed to be able to do that when you're that big.
You're not. No.
Blinding.
Blinding speed. Yeah, there's a Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker, Georgia, Jamal Lewis thing that he has that is his ability to go from a stop, accelerate at that speed with that type of force and weight behind it and that type of strength. There are very few in the history of this league that have had it the way that he has it, and we're lucky he's our guy because he's unreal.
We're so lucky. We're so lucky. I wonder if that inspired Gibbe to go seek out some Chubb Crunch.
Can't find it.
Sad.
I know.
Hate to see
I have it by the pallet. I'll bring one in for you.
I'll take a pallet of that.
I will sit here and eat it on the air. It's not a big deal.
Those are your OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns for all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000. Visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. And with the win Sunday in Cincinnati, Tito's Handmade Vodka is proud to support the Cleveland Browns through the Tito's Victory Vodka program with a $1,000 donation to Wags for Warriors, helping provide service dogs for veterans at no cost to the veteran. Thank you, Tito's. Remember to please enjoy Tito's Handmade Vodka responsibly. Sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, 40% alcohol by volume, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, and crafted to be savored responsibly. Still so much more to come. It is a glorious Victory Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Yes.
All right, when it comes to mattresses, Northeast Factory Direct really outdid themselves. They searched the entire country, found the best factory, the best warranties, and now they have the latest technology in mattresses for a fraction of the cost. During Northeast Factory Direct's garage sale, you can find a queen pillow top mattress starting just $399, double-sided pillow tops at $699. When you buy that Queen Prestige mattress for $699 or King Prestige for $799, you're going to get a bundle of free stuff, a set of sheets, 2 pillows, and a mattress protector. They even got these Comfort Cool mattresses, premium hybrid mattresses, all natural, cold face cover and layers of airflow comfort foam to keep you comfortable while you're sleeping. Check them out, West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia, or shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. Christmas come early for us, Coach.
Boy, does it.
Senior swag.
Senior swag bestowed upon us gifts.
Humbled.
Appreciative.
Yes. Beyond words. Good job.
Speechless. Yeah. But yet, we must do a radio show where the only medium is our speaking, so we've got to find a way.
We will have to find a way.
It's going to be tough, though.
This is one more aspect of Senior Swag that you envy. Is not envy, but appreciate. Not only his appearance on a daily basis, but the way that he gives.
His generosity.
His generosity.
The bigness of his heart.
One of a kind, that man. Good job.
Right.
Fantastic. Good job out of you.
Right now, I'd like to just jump in real quickly and say that in honor of his kindness today and just really what he does as we talk about head to toe on a daily basis here on this program, I think that even though the football team turned in one heck of a performance, I would like to give this week's Brad Mellon Pursuit of Perfection Award to Senior Swag. That's
appropriate. Right. Appropriate.
It feels appropriate.
Few people can reach the Brad Mellon level. Senior Swag.
He's there now anyway. He's there right there.
Way up high on the board.
That's right. That's him
high on the board.
I'm going to move him up a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. Give him another 6 inches or so. It'd be fine. There you go. You know, I was thinking about this from a back on the field. It's amazing, you know, when you think about the coaches show we did on Thursday, you think about the show we did Friday, and you think about the waters that were navigated last week by this organization and frankly by you and I on this show. And you think about how many times we said last week, there's one thing that'll fix this, and it's a win. That fixes it.
It's
an elixir.
If you were receiving $1 or so for every time we said winning cures all on this program last week, you too might have a swag bag.
You would have a swag bag as well. It was such a fun game, and it's interesting. The Denzel, you and I were talking off air. If it's 7-7 either way, because the Bengals answer and go right down and score, and it's 7-7, and so, you know, but 7-7 is different after a 100-yard pick six.
Yes,
that set it off. That changed it, stopping them because they were going right down the field. Right down the field. And you thought, my God, are we going to be able to stop them? They're going to be on the field. We can't get off the field on third down. And then Denzel makes that play where we hadn't seen him. He's covering Jamar Chase against his former teammate. That pick six going to the barn, that changes the game. And, yes, Cincinnati comes right back and scores. I mean, our defense has been on the field. It felt like 40 plays in those first 2 series. And so they come back down and score, and then you answer that. But it really is. That's when that set it off. It was that pick. It relieved the tension.
Totally.
In the building. You could feel it on television. I'm sure it felt that way for you.
It was one of those moments. I'm curious to hear what it sounded like from me as I was squealing in delight, sprinting 90 yards down the field. But it was one of those moments where you saw it happen and you realized, like, in my mind, there was no doubt we were winning that game. Like, at that moment, that answered the question. I said, we're going one of two ways. Denzel Ward, you have now just taken us down in like a pick a path. We just picked the right path. Game over.
Yep.
I mean, they're going down the field, and you and I are like, oh, boy, this is not how we need to start this.
And we'd had neutral zone penalties.
Well, and that's got to get sorted.
I'm like, this is not feeling good.
We can't have this many pre-snap penalties, guys, to win here when we need to.
Yeah, only Zegura sprints the length of the field with the DB when he shouldn't be sprinting the length of the field.
His enthusiasm is infectious.
Oh, I know. And the whole time screaming in my left ear, as he's running down the field. I've got Donovan in one ear. I've got him in the other ear, both of whom I can't hear
I don't think
myself.
anybody's ever been so lucky on the planet, what you just described. That sounds like audible euphoria.
You could auction that off.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, wait, I've got an Arby's read because they just picked one off, so everybody's getting free curly fries. And OBM sponsors a turnover score, and I don't remember the last time I had to use that live, so I got to find that live.
Incredible.
Why shouldn't I have run down
and
there?
Meanwhile, the girl's like, come to me, I want to talk. And I'm like, no. Like, and we have a network break. Like, that's not happening.
Well, you got to get down there because where you get the interesting stuff that I can provide from the sideline is being there and hearing the celebrations as they all come off the field. At that point, they've done their posing, and then they're walking back, and they walk right by me. So that way I could get a little interaction and maybe get a little tasty nugget.
Interaction, bumping chests and high-fiving.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Denzel's a big-time play. It called for it.
When it felt like that, what was the percentage of our fans down there?
Okay.
Seemed like a lot.
I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to talk about that. It felt to me, Gibby, at least 40%.
When Austin Hooper, I noticed it most on the Hooper because it kind of drowns it. But when Hoop caught the pass and I heard the Hoop chant, I went, whoa. There's a lot of our guys down there.
When Landry caught a ball, the juice chant.
I thought when we came out of the tunnel, and kind of like right at the beginning, where they're like, the Cleveland Browns, that cheer was louder than any cheer that the Bengals players got. So I was like, okay, this is kind of like a home game for us.
It was crazy. I mean,
the scene of Baker walking to our corner of the stadium where our locker room is. So at First Energy, they're on the
Post
same.
game, you mean?
Yeah, First Energy, they're at the same end of the stadium, just on opposite corners, like ours and the visitors. Here, they're on the same side of the stadium, but ours is at this touch end zone. Theirs is at this end zone.
Okay.
The descent of our fans to around that area, and honest to God, I looked up, and the thing it made me think of, because I stood behind him as I watched him walk towards that sea of people chanting Baker Mayfield, going nuts. I mean, you were getting the fans were chanting in the fourth quarter. It was like being at a wrestling show where they're just starting to, every wrestler's getting chanted for at this point at a WrestleMania where they're just going through everybody. There were J.C. Treader chants. I mean, we're talking
after he recovered the fumble.
With the parabolic mic, had a nice drop on that one. But that scene of him walking, the thing that it made me immediately think of was Thursday Night Football in our stadium of Dearness Johnson walking toward. It was the same magnitude of Browns fans and complete, total, just joyous pandemonium.
That's what it sounded like. That's why I was curious, because on television sometimes you drown each other out when everybody's cheering. So it's not until you hear the chants for a player that you can kind of make out.
Shout out to the unbelievably inebriated Browns fan that was in my favorite bar in the Natty Saturday night that was walking around telling anybody that would listen, Browns by 25 on Sunday. Browns by 25 on Sunday. And when I tell you he was lit up like the 4th of July, I have no idea how he kept getting drinks, but the man called it. And shout out to that guy.
He was on another plane where he saw into the future. It's like that guy. Did you see that guy who texted, I want to say it was like a decade ago, that the Braves were going to beat the Astros in the World Series in 2021 in 6 games?
Oh, yeah. I did see that going around a little bit, yeah.
It was verified. That was Barstool. So there's some soothsayers out there, and we happen to have one in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Great.
No, it was fun. It was a needed game. It was everything that was required, and then everything that was needed, and everything that you wanted as a fan. You got it checked every single box, and it sets you at 5-4. It puts you right back in the middle of things. Unfortunately, Minnesota couldn't handle their business. They had it. They blew it. You blew it, boy. Everyone's rooting for Justin Fields tonight. I'm not crazy about that matchup for them. Again, we saw what happened when he played against our defensive line. But you're back in the thick of things, right?
Yep.
And that was the idea. I can't even imagine what the feeling around here would be if you were sitting at 4-5. I'm glad we don't have to, because you took care of business down there.
Not only that, but every other 4-4 team won.
Yeah, you had
that
to.
You're
tied
right. With.
Well,
so more importantly, you're keeping pace.
By the way, we talked about how big this Battle of Ohio was. This one Sunday, rather big. They're 5-4. We're 5-4 at their joint.
Tiebreaker points.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of this. This is a big stretch of games, and when I say big stretch, I mean this final 9 to close the year. And we said you got to get to 6-3 to feel good about things. You're 1-0 to the 6-3.
That's right. Magic number I'd say is 5. We could make our little markings, but
yeah,
we said it last week. This was a great opportunity, and the opportunity for the Browns that existed based on the way the schedule fell meant that it's all in front of you. You control your own destiny. Everybody that you need to beat to accomplish the things that you want to are on the schedule. New England, the Raiders, 2 more with Baltimore, 1 more with Cincy, 1 more with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's your conference. That's everybody you're competing with to get into the dance. They're right there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it's all because of a win down in Cincinnati on Sunday. Want to purchase the Browns bundle at Buffalo Wild Wings? You can do so participating Ohio Buffalo Wild Wings locations throughout the season. With the purchase of a Browns bundle, fans get a limited edition collectible Cleveland Browns glass. The $14.99 Browns bundle includes a 6-piece swing, fries, and a Browns glass. The season collection honors the Browns' 75th anniversary with 3 unique designs: the 75th anniversary logo, the throwback brownie, and the 1946 patch logo. Coach is up next. You're listening to a Victory Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Let's go.
What was that from Deke?
I think he's saying the people
9
wearing
jerseys are
Burrow,
hitting the exits.
people wearing
Burrow
jerseys
are hitting the exit.
Not just 9 people.
9 people are hitting the exit. Deke. What a dynamite drop
That
in.
was
Dynamite
electric.
drop in by Deke right there. That is fantastic.
He had a couple great ones this week.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. EOX Vantage has a local presence with a global footprint trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. This is a testimonial from EOX Vantage client Ed Shield. Ed is the vice president at Skyward Specialty Insurance. He says, quote, "The tools we've designed with EOX Vantage are real business changers that open the door for us to all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help make our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, cut down on manual data entry and the associated input errors, and cut hours off of processes and response times. Operationally, it is a brand new ball game for us." And you can learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting EOXVantage.com or call 216-298-1616. Here's your head coach, Kevin Stefanski, at the podium.
Injury
You guys are down 7 minutes or 8 minutes.
shoulder. Like we talked about yesterday, I thought it was a good team win, played some complimentary ball, finished +3 in the turnover margin, which is really what we're looking to do. So it was good effort, good individual efforts by a bunch of the guys, and we're going to make some corrections today, and then we'll be have to go full speed ahead on to New England. With that, I'll take any questions.
There was so much good, but I got to bring up the penalties. Especially you had a couple guys, lining up in the neutral zone. Easy stuff to clean up. What was the issue yesterday?
Yeah, those were disappointing. We are not a disciplined football team right now when it comes to penalties, and we got to get it fixed. We're, I believe, very close to being worse in the league, and that's an undisciplined team. That's what losing looks like. So we have to clean that up because it's going to come back and bite you if we don't.
Yeah, Kevin, can you, just address Baker being able to hit the long ball, which was obviously a great thing, and how that's going to be important moving forward, and how you think you can kind of build on sort of pushing it downfield a little bit more?
Yeah, I think we hit on some opportunities yesterday, Mary Kay. Obviously, the Donovan one was great to start the drive like that. Hit Donovan later on down the boundary. So there will always be opportunities in each game when the defense presents those opportunities, and we can go make a play downfield. We will, and then the quarterback has to continue to be smart when those things aren't there to check it down underneath and get yards that way. But that's always going to be a focus of ours, trying to find those plays week to week.
Hey, Kevin, I think it was Tim Hasselbeck on ESPN last night when I was watching, said that might have been the best secondary performance he's seen this season. How good did you think your secondary played?
Yeah, they were really good, Scott. And I just thought, obviously, Denzel's play is, that's a game changer to go 99 when it looks like they're about to score. But I think throughout the game, you really saw our guys making plays on the ball, those contested catches. I even think back to their first third down that they got a conversion. Troy Hill is right there. He slipped coming out of his break, but he still contested the catch, and their player made a great play. But for our guys to be sticky in coverage, and then when the ball's in the air to go make a play on the ball, I think that was just great to see. I think it was great to have Greg and Denzel out there together. AJ Green got in there, was productive. Obviously, Greedy was in there just for a minute before getting injured. So that's the corners. Then think about the safeties. I mean, John Johnson just doing a great job getting the ball out, putting his helmet on the ball, and then Denzel getting a PBU that pops into JJ's hands. So I did think it was a great performance by that group.
I wanted to ask you specifically about Troy Hill and the day that he had with the couple of sacks. He hit the quarterback multiple times as well. Was that the best you've seen out of him to date?
Yeah, I think it probably was. I think Troy does a really nice job. I mentioned it yesterday. He's really good in his run fits. I think he's a good blitzer, plays sticky in coverage. He's very, very competitive, very, very tough. I enjoy being around him. I think his teammates enjoy being around him. He just brings an edge to that group.
I wanted to go back, another question on the secondary. It just seemed like Joe Woods played them more aggressively. They were more physical. They pressed. And they're, pretty high draft picks you got back there. Will we see more of that, or was that game specific? It seems like the passivity was gone in this game.
Yeah, I think that's how we want to play, Tony. Obviously, game to game, you have certain adjustments and certain coverages that you're going to play a little bit more of. But we want to be aggressive, really, in our zone coverage. We want to be aggressive in our man coverage. So when the guys have one-on-one opportunities, we want them to deny their man the ball. That's the simple way of putting it. We want our guy to take their guy out of the play. So I think you saw that, but to say that was different than this season, I think our guys understand that they have to play aggressive. You have to, when the time calls for it, when the defense calls for it, you have to go deny your man the ball.
And a question about, you've talked a lot in the past about getting a lead and how that helps you obviously manage the game. This week you got a lead on defense, and it kind of changed everything, it seemed. Can you speak as to what getting a lead also means to your pass rush and defense, not just your offense?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Tony, because when you do get that lead, the defense gets put in a passing game where our front four can turn into rushers. We can play aggressive in the secondary, like we talked earlier. So I think it's obvious. I think every team likely goes into it wanting to get that lead quickly, and sometimes the games play out differently. But anytime we can be aggressive on offense and defense early, get points, and then try and go win the game via suffocating defense and an offense that continues to put points on the board.
Yeah, Kevin, just wondering about DPJ. When you looked back at the game, I mean, is there something that stood out about his growth this season, or since training camp began?
No, I think Marley, it was unfortunate he was out there for a minute with the injury, but having him back out there, like we talked about yesterday, I think he makes plays. And I do think when he came to training camp, I do think a bunch of us thought that he was in great shape, thought, he looked 1 year better, 1 year, growth in his body. But he's a player that we're going to be counting on. And he's continued to make plays when called upon.
Thanks, Rob. Kevin, the last 2 weeks, your defense has given up 16 and 15 points. What's been the difference the last 2 weeks, especially in divisional games, than maybe we saw the first whatever it was, 6 games of the season?
Yeah, I don't know PJ specifically over the last 2 weeks. I just think yesterday, I believe they gave up 99 yards in the second half yesterday, which is, that's a great job by the players and coaches understanding some adjustments that we had to make and the players ultimately executing. But I think it's just week to week, PJ. These schemes are different, and there's sometimes there's great playmakers on the perimeter. Sometimes it's an inside-out game. So just being able to execute the game plan that's called for that week is vital.
When Bill Belichick was named coach of the Browns, you were 9 years old. I wondered what kind of professional relationship you might have with him, and just your comment about his career.
I've not had the opportunity to meet Coach Belichick yet. It's the first time facing off against him. Obviously,
30.
My utmost respect. Chad O'Shea, who's on our staff here, worked with Coach Belichick for a long time there in New England. So Chad, just the things he's learned from him and shared with me over his time there. The guy's, he's, as we all know, there's probably not superlatives from me necessary, but we got to go make sure we're prepared, because we know it's a well-coached team. They play sound ball, and we got to make sure that we're at our best Sunday up there.
You're up.
Look, we'll turn the page to the Patriots as the week goes along, but I thought it was a good – Tone had a good question when he talked about you were 9 years old when Belichick was hired here, which I thought added fantastic perspective on how long ago Belichick was here and everything that's happened between now and then. And it's rare in life when your chosen pursuit aligns you with someone who's the best to do it ever. The legend, right. And on a much, much smaller level, we had this a couple of years ago when Al Michaels came in this studio. So Al Michaels, to me, is Belichick. That's the guy. That's the best guy in this profession to do it. So when he came in here, and you and I got to talk to him, we interviewed him, I mean, my palms still get sweaty thinking about it. And we've interviewed all sorts of crazy people in here. And through our careers, you interview all sorts of people. But it's something about the person that's in your profession that you do it. And it's rare that you actually get to interact with somebody who you consider the best to ever do it. And I do consider Al Michaels the best to ever do it. And that's what Belichick is. And that's what you get Sunday. And not only do you get them both, you get all of that from Kevin Stefanski's perspective. And I hope I know you'll try in the Coaches Show interview on Thursday to get this. I don't know what he'll give you, but you have to imagine that would be something that would be pretty special because you'd rarely get that opportunity in life.
Yeah, I think you'll get nothing.
Nothing like it. I know.
I'll ask him, of course.
I know you will, yeah.
I think he's just going to, it's the importance of it.
He did it today to Tone when Tone asked the question. Like he
The crazy part of it is it would be like us getting that opportunity with Al Michaels, but if Al Michaels had previously hosted Browns Daily. You know what I mean? Like here, it's the same profession. He used to be the head coach of the Browns.
Right, correct. Yeah, that's right. Or if all of a sudden you were doing sidelines on Sunday Night Football, tossing it to Al Michaels.
Sure.
Like that, just how surreal that all would be, to where you're all operating on the same field is
Back to
crazy.
you, Al.
It's crazy. Yeah, so it's special. And I think you add to it, both 5 and 4, both in the thick of it, both have to keep winning. Folks, if you learned anything, and the Hoff's coming up here in about 10 minutes on the Joe Thomas Hour. If you learned anything this weekend in the NFL, and I used to feel pretty confident saying, all right, there's 5 teams in the NFC that have kind of separated. Any of those 5 can win the Super Bowl, and that might still be the case. In the AFC, put 10 names in a hat and pull one out. I mean, it's an impressive win by Tennessee.
Yeah.
They have now beaten – they're probably the front runner, you'd have to say it now, even with the Henry injury, the way they're playing. They've beaten the Rams. They've whipped who else? They beat the Bills. They whipped the Bills, and they beat the Chiefs.
4 teams from a playoff that were playoff teams a year ago. They've won 4 in a row against teams that were playoff teams a year ago, which is only, I think,
largely emphatically
the third time that something like that's happened.
Most of the games haven't been close. They've kind of just swamped teams.
So
I know they beat Colts last week.
Yeah, so the Colts were a playoff team.
And who did they beat?
So it was the Bills 34-31. That was on a Monday night. Then it was the Chiefs 27-3. Colts 34-31 in an overtime thriller. Rams 28-16. And they have to be the only team that has caused a quarterback to throw a spinning whoopty, one right-handed, one left-handed, out of a sack in the end zone to prevent a safety for an interception in consecutive games. Like, when has that ever happened?
Stafford had the answers to every test, and then all of a sudden it looked like he never played the position before, whatever they were doing defensively. Our guy Austin Corbett did not hold up very well in the middle of that offensive line, by the way.
He had a rough game. So here since they lose to the Cardinals in the opener, they beat the Seahawks, beat the Colts, Jags, Bills, Chiefs, Colts, Rams. They have 1 loss other than the Cards in the opener, who turned out to be a pretty good team. Any guesses?
The Jets, isn't it?
Yeah. They lost to the Jets.
The stinking
27-24 in overtime. And not these frisky Mike White Jets. They lost to the Zach Wilson Jets. They gave up 21 of 34 for 297 and 2 touchdowns to Zach Wilson, which is by far the best game of his career without any question.
You make sense of it. I dare you.
You know what? The National Football League is full of incredibly talented players, and even bad teams still have really good players. And if you get a couple breaks here or there, or sometimes you just go and take somebody. That's when people are saying, that Thursday night game when we beat the Broncos, that was the Broncos. They just went into Dallas with Dak and were up 30-0 and whooped them in every respect.
In every respect. Dominated them.
4 days after they lost their defensive captain and probably the best player on their football
soul
team.
Of their football team, right. Yeah, we were saying, all right, let's just find a way to win, chunk it together, get a win. We won't need our best to beat Denver. They just go to Dallas, who's playing as good as anybody in the NFC, and whip them.
Whoop them. It also goes to fourth downs. Fourth downs matter. Dallas went for 2 fourth downs early in that game, did not get them.
Yeah.
Those are massive plays. By the way, when they went for a 4th down in this game, that's when Troy Hill had the great coverage, got to stop. It was the very next play, Donovan Peoples-Jones touchdown. Game-changing.
I do wonder if we've gotten to the point on 4th downs where it feels like that when we're going for them so often that it feels like that we're missing a lot of them. And I see it on college football Saturdays too, and they're huge momentum swings. You have these huge drives that are 7 to 12 plays.
Yep.
They're 60 yards. You take all this time and you come away with nothing. It's so deflating. I know that the math says, okay, well, next time you get 7, it doesn't matter. It's a wash. It's worth it. But it just feels like that doesn't take into account the mental drain of being on the field that long and coming away with no points. I see it consistently in the NFL, and it happens in college too. Happened to the Buckeyes over the weekend.
It's wild.
All right, we will get the Joe Thomas Hour coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for your free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now it is time for the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily. Hoff, how are you, my friend?
I am doing just fine, gentlemen. We're back, and I can't be happier.
We are back. You know what I can't wait for? I've already set my calendar for Thursday night. I feel like you might have some words for Mr. Smith.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Steve. Chesty Hoff walking in there, peacocking around.
Yeah.
Maybe in a Baker jersey. I don't know.
He's going to be like that kid in class that knows he's going to get his ass whooped. He's going to be hiding at the playground. He might even find an excuse to stay inside for indoor recess on Thursday.
Hoff, it's amazing what a win can do, right? I mean, that's really it. I mean, you think about where this organization has been in 10 days. It was a noisy week, bud. I mean, you lived it on Thursday Night Football. We saw the comments from Steve, and certainly we lived it here in the building. And there was Jake Trotter, who does a fantastic job covering this team for ESPN, was on with us on Friday and said this is the most pressure-packed game Baker Mayfield has ever played in. And we echoed that. We agreed that it was. There was a lot because there was a lot of noise. And this one isn't all about Baker. It's a lot about our defense, Nick Chubb, so forth, so on. But he needed to play great. He did, more importantly and most especially, and this would matter most to him, our team did, Joe.
Yeah, this was a make-or-break game for the Browns as a team, as an organization, with all that was on the line, being an AFC North game, trying to keep pace in that AFC North, which is very competitive, with the Ravens looking really good and the Steelers playing tonight. But also, you look at Baker going against Joe Burrow, the number one pick from a couple years ago, Ohio kid. Like, there was a lot at stake, especially with Odell Beckham leaving. Obviously it's been talked about a lot, but this was his opportunity to prove, hey, I know that there was whispers for a while now that this team was better without Odell and that maybe he was causing some issues within the offense as far as continuity and where the ball should go. And all of a sudden, Baker was able to step up. And that's the thing I think I've admired the most about Baker since he's been the Browns quarterback is when the moment has been big, you get the best version of Baker. And I think that's something that as fans we can get really excited about as we kind of go down this playoff journey in December and hopefully into January, that we're going to have one of those quarterbacks that doesn't wither and melt in those big moments. He's a guy that is going to be at his best when his back's against the wall, when people don't give him a chance. And, hey, maybe that's the formula for a championship this year, just saying.
Jeez,
Hoff, let's go. Let's get excited.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
The scoreboard reads Baker 3, Burrow 0 after 3 meetings between those two former number one overall picks. Baker was so locked in prior to this game, and definitely you had a feeling he loves playing in that stadium. He feels very comfortable there. He's played great there. He's multiple passing touchdowns in every game there, 14 in 4 games so far in his career. Is there something to that? Are there guys, maybe in your time at Wisconsin or even obviously with the Browns where certain stadiums and certain teams, certain uniforms, when you see across from you, you're just like, oh, we're gonna play well today?
Yeah, there has been moments like that. Actually, a funny thing is when I was at Wisconsin, always played well in Ohio in the horseshoe. We always went into the horseshoe, even as underdogs every time. It seemed like we gave them our best shot, and we always had confidence because of past experiences that it would happen again. And I think just going into those games, especially for us in college as a bunch of goofball college kids, but especially as younger players in the NFL, the mental side of it is so big because you have confidence in yourself, but you don't have the same confidence as a guy, that's been around 10, 12, 13 years, that's done it, that has that unwavering confidence no matter what happens. As a young player, good or bad games early on in your career can affect you later on because you reflect back on those moments because they're more recent and because that's the sample size you have. And so for Baker to be 3-0 against Joe Burrow, that's got to be great. That builds a lot of confidence the next time the Browns face the Bengals, knowing, hey, man, we got your number. And it showed in the past, and his teammates are going to feel that going into the game.
Huff, have you taken a look at Wyatt Teller's grade on this one and the way he played?
Haven't, but I'm sure it's nearly perfect. I saw him abusing people like he was playing against the JV team at a varsity JV scrimmage out in Montana.
Jeez, not you in Montana. Put you out there against those poor kids. I mean, Hoffy was horizontal on the play where he gets out there and leads for Nick Chubb. He's horizontal on the block, just annihilating humans.
When you boil this game down to its simplest form, it's big men who are big, fast, and strong who knock out other big, fast, strong men. And the biggest, fastest, strongest, most powerful man usually wins. And Wyatt Teller usually is that guy. And he was on Sunday again. It's fun to watch, right? That's where they're at their best. It's that physical presence on offense where you get guys like Wyatt and Joel are pulling around on the pin pull schemes and steamrolling the second level defenders. I mean, they're putting fear into defenses that I can't remember defenses having that type of fear from an offense, from a run game standpoint, since like the Cowboys of the 90s when they had like Larry Allen, Nate Newton, and they just had these massive people that are hurting you, because most of the really successful run games in recent memory have been more the outside zone scheme, which, yeah, it's impressive watching that, and it's very dominant, and it's something the Browns do a lot of, but it's more about speed and angles and double teams and things like that, whereas you get Wyatt on the edge. It's like more about, I just want to hurt you.
Huff, how much fun is that to be an offensive lineman and get asked to do what our guys are asked to do? If you're Wyatt Teller and you know you're doing that, it seems to be like he's having the most fun he can have. Can you put us in his mind a little bit?
One of the things we always said about offensive line play is it's the no glory position, and there's not a lot of fun things that happen as a lineman. Even on game day, we always dreaded game day. Going into it with so much nervousness, and the reason you're nervous is because really nothing good can usually happen on game day for an offensive lineman, other than winning. Like winning, that's what makes it all worth it. But like you're going to be sore as hell. Your head's going to hurt. You're going to have a headache. You're lucky if nobody notices you, because that means you didn't have any penalties and you didn't give up any sacks or any big plays. But like one of the few guys that probably gets excited for game day has got to be.
I have David on hold.
And his ability to just go out and hurt people and impose his will on them and make them afraid, like that's got to be a really fun feeling. I'm not sure if I ever had that. I was a different type of player, but it's got to be fun for him going on game day. And that's not something that many offensive linemen are able to experience ever.
Well, Hoff, one guy who gets to do a lot of things that we don't get to experience very often, jumping out of buildings, just parading around shirtless all the time, joins us on the hotline, Browns tight end, the Chief, David Njoku. And, Chief, first of all, congratulations on the big win. And, of course, as we told you it was coming, congrats on getting back in the end zone there in Cincinnati, just like you did a year ago.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We just, put in a lot of work this past week, and we reaped the fruit. So it was great to get that dub.
Chief, it was a crazy week, man, and it seemed like an incredible release for you guys, and just how cleanly you played offensively. There's that image going around of Bake talking to you after the game, after the touchdown, or during the game after the touchdown, with a huge smile on your face. It just felt like everything clicked. Was it a release? Was it take us into your mind a little bit, playing a game where you score 41 and are just able to do all the things that I think you wanted to do offensively?
Yeah, it seemed like as an offense, we were just clicking. We were firing on all cylinders, So we had great execution, and we have to just continue to put in the work and have it carry over to this upcoming game against the Patriots.
How important is it for you guys, Chief, to be able to follow through with a big game next week that brings the same sort of energy, the same sort of circle the wagons mentality that you guys had last week, and that you can prove that you can have that feeling week in and week out?
We like to see every game that, that's upcoming as a really big game. We try to go 1-0 every week. So in my eyes, it's just nameless great faces. I don't really care who it is, that we're competing against, but just as long as we execute and do our jobs, everything will play out the way it should be.
Chief, you've caught 21 passes so far this year. That's the most of anybody on this football team this season. Your 341 yards receiving also lead the Cleveland Browns this year. Career high 16.2 yards per catch. We saw you get in the end zone again there last weekend. And I feel when you talk about you have 21 catches, that's all on 27 targets, your efficiency this year off the charts, your blocking has been off the charts. Do you feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface? And I would say the LA game kind of shows really what can happen when we feature you. And I know this offense yesterday, I think Jarvis led the team with 3 catches, the ball just being spread around everywhere all game long. But do you feel like you now, as you enter this season, thinking back to your rookie year, do you feel like you're just light years ahead of as a player and really are ready to just kind of load the rocket ship with the fuel and become, I think, the elite tight end that I certainly see here right now for the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, I believe I'm my biggest critic when it comes to my game. I put in a lot of work, in the off season, as well as camp with the team. I believe we've really pushed each other as much as possible. So we have a long ways to go. Including myself, I'm nowhere close to being there yet in my eyes, and that's just our mindset every day, really. So yeah.
Chief, I don't know that anything kind of puts all that into perspective more than the touchdown, where from an anticipatory standpoint, Baker he's let you, before you even make the first part of your move, the ball is gone. You turn, it's there, it's in a tight window, it's on the screws, that's all perfect. Your celebration pretty good too, bud, if I do say so myself. I did like that quite a bit. Take us through that play a little bit and how it worked the way that it did so flawlessly.
Right. So I believe they were in cover 0, and I had that little corner post, and Baker trusted where I should be right when he threw the ball before I even knew the ball was coming. So all I had to do was turn around, see the ball, and catch it. So, it was a great ball by him, and it was great blocking by our line, our other tight ends, our running back. It was a great team play, so I have to give credit to all them.
How about that celebration?
Baker played, obviously.
Chief?
Oh, yeah.
Tell
us about the celebration.
It was pretty good, bud.
Yeah, it was a shout out to Dave Bautista. Growing up, I used to watch WWE all the time. So he was one of my idols that I would watch when I was a little kid. So I had to give him a little tribute.
Chief, Baker played a great game on Sunday. His words in the media this week I thought were outstanding, showing confidence, leadership, in spite of a difficult week with the things that went on with Odell Beckham. What did you see from him during the week, and have you ever seen him as a better quarterback in that leadership role than what you saw this week?
It's a very sensitive topic. Obviously, you never want to see one of your brothers lead the team. So it wasn't easy, for the whole team. But we had to find a way to dial in, lock in on the task at hand. And we found a way, and I believe as a whole team, we played great, and now we just got to focus on this next week and just keep it rolling.
Chief, next time we get a chance to do like a long one-on-one, we're going to have to really dive into this Batista WWE talk here for the wrestling. I'm also a big aficionado, and I last week did a show in the Macho Man's robe. In fact, one of the Macho Man Randy Savage's own robes that he wore to the ring as the WWF champ. So we'll have to talk. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that one there, Chief.
Great.
But I want to talk just about kind of the mindset on the sideline yesterday, because there have been a few moments in my time here with the Browns where you felt just the pure joy that only athletics can bring, but also that camaraderie. And I thought yesterday was one of them. Just kind of the way that you guys were acting on the sideline together, the happiness for the win, kind of the relief for the victory, the crowd chanting basically everybody on the roster's names at one point or another. What was it like being on that sideline with those guys and in that locker room yesterday? And I know there's a lot of work to do, but that was a big one. And it felt like it meant something more to you guys than just a 1-0 this week.
For sure. Something that I always go by is trust builds confidence, so just the trusting in each other, just to do our own job every single play, and then, do our job as a team to get that W, and especially everything that we were going through, like during the week, it wasn't easy.
And it was just like a big deep breath once we got that dub, or once we finalized that win. It was a deep breath, and like a good way to refocus, come back as a team and lock in mentally.
Chief, thank you so much for your time today,
man.
buddy. We love you here on the program. We still have the football, of course. It's not gone anywhere. We still pat it for good luck, buddy, here in the studio. Thanks for your time today, and good luck this week in New England.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right, that's
Victory Monday treat.
Victory Monday with the Chief. What
The
a real
Chief and
treat.
the Hoff?
Chief and the Hoff.
At the same time?
All at once. It's just so much star power, we can hardly contain ourselves.
That's right.
We'll hand out some game balls. I'll also do one thought on a Victory Monday coming up next. It is the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you'll play as like a football team going into a game without a game plan. Probably going to end up in a loss. So always set limits before you bet and get more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com.
So we heard Jim Donovan talking about Troy Hill, who had a great game, a couple of sacks, had the great coverage on that fourth down. And this was really one of the best games for both Troy Hill and John Johnson. And I got a chance to talk with Troy after the game for the post-game radio interviews. And he said, because Zach Taylor came from the McVay tree,
sure,
that they knew some of that. He said he and John recognized some of the stuff, and that allowed them to play faster and more decisive. How big of that must be a big thing because they had their best games. How big is that right there? Hoff.
I think that's huge. Right, yeah, that's huge because all it takes is 3 or 4 plays in a game to either win down the stretch or to flip the momentum early on, which is exactly what you saw, right? You saw Denzel make that play early on, and then all of a sudden they followed up with another interception. And it changes the momentum early on, and it changes how teams can play the game. Because now all of a sudden the Browns are in the driver's seat, and they're able to play the game exactly the way they want to, which is focus on running the football, take your shots and play action, and don't get stuck in those 3rd and longs or those situations where you just have to drop back and throw. Conversely, they put the Bengals in the situation that they want on defense, right? Get them in those situations where they have to drop back and throw, and they can't just hand it off to Joe Mixon, and give Myles Garrett a chance to rush the passer and force turnovers from Joe Burrow. And so those little things that you pick up are so big because they turn the fortune of the game from the beginning, and that's why coaches and players become so obsessed with watching one more game of film. All right, I'm going to stay in the office and go over one more different concept. I'm going to go back and watch one more thing from this coordinator's past from 10 years ago. Because you never know what that one little thing that you pick up turns out to be the difference in the game 10 years later after you watched it.
Yeah, it's something, and you mentioned this last week on the show, Z, that be aware of where John Johnson's going to be because they're getting him back to where he's most comfortable, and he was dynamic in the game yesterday. All right, guys, let's send out some game balls. Let's start on offense. Who gets your offensive game ball?
Got to give it to Baker Mayfield, right? 3 for 4 on deep passes, which has been kind of an area that he'd struggled a little bit. 6 for 9 throwing the ball beyond 10 yards past the line of scrimmage and a couple touchdowns. So he was flawless in his deep passes, which has been an area of question mark. And it was going to be, hey, you lose Odell. He's your deep threat. What are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. They filled the void with some outstanding work to Donovan Peoples-Jones and the tight ends. And he really did everything that you want from him on the field, but then off the field. I thought, like I mentioned with the Chief, he had a great week. Like in the face of an unbelievable amount of criticism and adversity, he said all the right things in the media. He was outstanding and not dividing the locker room between guys that were on Odell's side and guys that aren't on Odell's side. He took ownership for the situation, whether he deserved it or not, and he went out and played one of his best games of football on the weekend. And then after the game, he answered questions with grace, with humility. He did a great job of galvanizing the team moving forward for the next week. So to me, this is Baker Mayfield at his best, and I loved it.
I mean, the Hoff is right on because he's given it to Baker Mayfield. I will choose somebody else, and that somebody else that I will choose will be the entire offensive line, all of them. I thought Jed Wills against Trey Hendrickson played one of the best games of his young career, Hoff. I'm curious to get your take on that. We've talked about Wyatt. You talk about Joel Bitonio. You talk about, Blake Hance even. We weren't talking about Blake Hance, which means he did a darn good job. That's what you needed, and this game was going to be one in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and it absolutely was for the Browns. I thought up front, paving the way for Nick Chubb, given the time to Baker Mayfield, they did a tremendous job. So I'll give those guys a game ball in this one. Wyatt Teller, by the way, 93.8 grade at Pro Football Focus, which is one of the highest week grades they've given this season.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
Is 9.8 yards a carry good?
That's right. I wanted to save this for you. Yes.
Is that good?
It's great.
It's elite. Is a 70-yard touchdown run good? Is that good?
Shot out of a cannon.
2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb. This is pretty remarkable. I saw Grubbs with this morning. He's third in the NFL at yards at 721 despite missing 2 games. Yards per game, he's second at 103. Yards per carry, 6 yards a carry for Nick Chubb. This is the one that's most amazing, especially if somebody his size. Ruds of 20 or more. He's had 8 of them this year. That is first in the league. He is quite special. On defense, Hoff, who you got?
Denzel Ward, right? That one's easy. He was unbelievable against Jamar Chase. One of his best games as a professional because it came against Jamar Chase, who's having one of the best seasons of any receiver in the NFL. Obviously, the interception return for a touchdown that was 99 yards. He reached almost 21 miles per hour, which is what I reach when I'm jogging. Of course, we all know that. However, he was also amazing. He tipped another pass that John Johnson intercepted, and he really was able to limit Jamar Chase and what they wanted to do with him within the offense. He was a huge part of this defense getting all the sacks that they got because of the tight coverage he had. He was just spectacular. That's all you can say about it.
Zeke?
I'm going to go with John Johnson III. John Johnson brought to the Cleveland Browns to be a difference maker, to change things for this defense. And I thought John Johnson absolutely went out and did that. And we talked earlier about getting him more involved, getting him closer to the line of scrimmage. Well, in this game, he played 22 snaps in the box. That is the most that he has played in a game all season. His previous high was 10, which was the week before. Typically it was 8, 4, 3, 6, 7, 7, 6. He also played 8 at slot corner. So that's 30 plays that were either in the slot or in the box, which is by far a season high. Most weeks he doesn't even get 15. So that change, credit to Joe Woods, credit to Jeff Howard and Brandon Lynch, the DB coaches, getting him involved, getting him near the line of scrimmage, allowing him to make those plays, and boy, did he make them, getting that huge fumble, forcing the ball out with the big hit. Troy Hill told him that I hadn't seen you hit a guy like that in a long time. He loved it. A.J. Green recovered it. Then the recognition. Jeff Howard told me the recognition to be there when the ball was in the air. He took one step to bait in the middle of the field to bait Burrow to throw the slant in behind him, and then as soon he broke right back at the tip up, he gets the ball. Great job by John Johnson III, who looked every bit like an all-pro safety for the Browns in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you could give one to Greg Newsome for the way that he played. He's quickly becoming one of the best.
Troy
Hill
Walker,
was great.
14
Miles,
tackles, but Miles,
yeah. not bad for Miles as well. So defensively, it was everything that you'd want. All right, let's go to one thought on some of the following guys. I mentioned Nick Chubb earlier, Hoff. We were trying to a guy that big with that strength, with that burst. What comes to mind for you?
Oh, I mean, that's scary. He's like a creative player on Madden, right? Because
yeah.
When you're a big physical back that is able to cut and has the short area quickness that Chubb has with the vision, usually, all right, he's a guy that's probably going to get 6-7 yards and then get tackled because he doesn't have the speed to hit the second hole before it closes, before a safety comes down and chops his legs, or at least kind of slows him down for the cavalry to arrive. But he's got that long speed, which I kind of scratch my head and I'm thinking, how did this dude last to the second round? Like, we see running backs still to this day getting drafted in the first round, even in the top of the first round. But for Nick Chubb to fall to the Browns in the second round has got to be one of the steals, the all-time steals of the draft.
Well, he wasn't even the first Georgia running back taken.
Oh, that's right.
Sony Michel
was
ahead of him. Think Belichick would like having Nick Chubb right now. Z, I'll come to you on this one with Donovan Peoples-Jones, a guy that we noticed all the way back in minicamp.
Thank you very much for coming to me on Donovan Peoples-Jones, because I will tell you this. He is a superstar in waiting, and I don't want to keep waiting much longer, but I would inquire as to whether or not you guys thought, if you've thrown 18 passes to an individual, 15 of them have been caught. They have gone for 314 yards, which is 20.9 yards per catch, 3 receiving touchdowns, and then to break it down on just a yards per target basis, because I always find that to be a wonderful metric for wide receivers. So 314 divided by 18, 17.4 yards. That's what the Browns are averaging every time they just attempt a pass to Donovan Peoples-Jones. You go back to from week 5 on. That's when it started. He started to get involved. It was a lack of opportunities. Week 5, which was down in L.A., then week 6 is the game against the Cardinals. He misses 2 and he's back. Since week 5 in the NFL, here are the top 3 top graded at Pro Football Focus receivers in the NFL. Devontae Adams, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Antonio Brown. Next would be Cooper Kupp A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins. Those are names where one would you say is not like the others, the one being Donovan Peoples-Jones. And yet, that's what he's doing. Since then, he has, in that same time frame, he has produced 3.57 yards per route run. 3.57 yards per route run, which is an elite number in the NFL. That ranks him amongst guys who are actually playing snaps, second in the league behind only Kadarius Toney. That's how good Donovan Peoples-Jones has been lately. Average depth of target, 19 yards. He's caught 4 of his 5 targets of more than 20 yards in the air. I am all in on this kid. He does everything the right way. Kevin Stefanski called him Mr. Dependable today, which is probably the highest praise he could give anybody.
Certainly is. Hoff, these two kind of go hand in hand a little bit because it was dominant on the defensive front. I want to ask you about our defensive line, but several pre-snap penalties as well, just line up in the neutral zone. How does that happen, first of all? And then is that just lack of attention to detail? And then the second part of that is obviously we're seeing, and most of it's Miles now with 12 sacks on the season, which is just remarkable, how dominant that group can be.
Yeah, the neutral zone stuff, that's something that can't happen. It was a lack of focus, but what I saw was a team that was chomping at the bit. Like, those horses, they were in the stalls. They were ready to go. They could not wait. And so I think they were so focused on their rush and, all right, what's the move I'm going to make? Like, what are the tips I'm taking from this offensive lineman's stance? Like, what are their calls? Like, he was dialed in on that stuff, and he forgot the most basic thing. Like, dude, look inside and see where the football is. You got to back up. Like, lining up is the first thing you do. And sometimes when you're so jazzed, you're so juiced about what's about to happen, you forget first things first. I remember on the offensive line, sometimes we'd forget the snap count because your play that you love comes up. And you're like, oh, I can't wait, let's go. And you're thinking about, all right, what are all the things that the defense can do that are going to screw this play up? I don't want to let that happen. And then you're communicating with your buddy, and you forget, oh, I forgot it was on too. And you feel like an idiot. So obviously it can't happen. It was frustrating, especially down at the beginning. But you know what? I hope they can correct it, and hopefully it was just a one-time thing because certainly you don't want to have those silly mistakes hurt you down the stretch somewhere. And your second question about how good can this defensive line be, I think you're seeing it right there. Like, people were, oh, Jadeveon Clowney, he doesn't get a lot of sacks. Yeah, that's not his game. He's disruptive. Like, he makes running the ball to his side almost impossible because no tight end can block him. Tackles really struggle because they can't get on him because he's so quick and he's got such great hand usage. And you can't run the other way because there's Myles Garrett over there. So what do? Try to run up the middle? And we have a pretty solid rushing defense up the middle. And so it gets you to those third downs that you want. Now you can blitz or you can have Myles rush, and Jadeveon's still a pretty good pass rusher. So I think you're kind of seeing the evolution of this defense, what they want to be. Really good with tight coverage in the back end. Solid on the edges in the run game, and then when they get to third down, you can be creative with your pass rush, or you just let Myles Garrett hurt people and get sacks like that, the old school way.
Yeah, and guess what? Next week, or hopefully this week, we get JOK back. We might be fully healthy. It feels like for the first time all season on defense.
Yeah, that hasn't been the case. Going to be fun.
Yeah.
This is a fun one Sunday.
Our D is fun to watch when they're cooking. I mean, you would have thought Burrow would have picked up an extra 200 garbage yards and a couple more touchdowns. Not happening in the second half. They were getting nothing, liking it.
No, they weren't. We'll get some your Hey Joe questions. Get those into Gibbe. Hashtag AskCBD, Browns_daily. We will get to those. We'll go around the league. It's coming up next. You'll listen to the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste and Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Time for a couple of Ask Joe questions. Hashtag AskCBD. Hoff, one from at Beau Bishop on this one. Can you explain to people what it feels like to have the hottest cocktail sauce that St. Elmo's can offer up?
It was an atomic bomb in my nasal passage, which left me feeling like I had some type of sunburn from that nuclear reaction all the way through my nose and into my esophagus. It was incredible. I love hot and spicy food, but that took it to a new level. Like, I accidentally one time ate a whole wasabi ball, and that was brutal. But this one was like 10x worse than that.
It's from like Cars 2.
When you look at like the Scoville units on a pepper, when they say like, jalapenos, 20,000, habaneros like 50, and the ghost pepper's like 1 billion. Like, you can't even compare the two. Like, that's what it was when I ate that horseradish cocktail sauce.
Did they do something extra to it, or was it pure horseradish? Or did they infuse some ghost pepper in there, or Carolina Reaper?
It's a different hot. It's a different hot, though.
They were trying to hurt me.
Horseradish is right. That's in the back of your brain, your medulla oblongata.
So the first cocktail sauce was their standard, like, spicy, I'm going to kill Beau Bishop sauce.
Yeah.
Number 2, they took that sauce, but they just added horseradish to it. Number 3, more horseradish. So they were trying to make it progressively worse until I got to the point where I couldn't speak, which they got close, but I persevered.
You're a huge bee.
I persevered and still trash talked the Steelers all the way through my nose being burned off, which was maybe my finest moment of my career thus far. But
I mean, it's on the Mount Rushmore. That, and then you with Siciliano as your mini-me are both definitely on the Mount Rushmore. And maybe doing the Eagles flapping their wings in Irv's face would also, I'd nominate that as well.
Yes. The horseradish, the final one, was so hot and laden with horseradish, it looked more like ranch than it did cocktail sauce. Like the first one, it's got a light pink color because of the horseradish. This was basically horseradish with a little bit of their cocktail sauce in it.
Yeah, and
an evil brand of horseradish. Like, horseradish is not that.
No, I've never had anything like. I certainly didn't have what he had, what Hoff had, but I definitely got a big chunk of it, and it was paralyzing. It really paralyzed me. I thought I was going to die.
I'm excited though for the opportunity to go back there for the combine, perhaps the swan song in Indy, which would be very sad if it is in fact true.
Yeah.
But to see you overcome, to go back in there, chesty, and just
be fun.
Take that cocktail sauce down. Yeah, we'll have to get the Hoff. Would you be at the combine now, Hoff, with all of your media mogulness?
Typically, I go there for the offensive lineman drills and I do the on-field coverage. So if we're there, let's do it. Let's make it a day.
We've got an Elmo's night in our future. That's right. Sorry, Jerry.
The gravestone.
That's right. Let's go.
Beautiful. This one from at Jonas. He says, how did you come down to earth after a huge emotional win, and any suggestions for a head coach facing Bill Belichick for the first time?
Well, I think Kevin's the perfect coach to be able to handle success and handle an emotional week and emotional game. Like, you saw that, right? Like, some teams, they're folding up shop if they had the team that the Browns, or the week that the Browns had last week. But the Browns, they came out at their best. And that's, to me, like the Stefanski-Barry effect. Those guys are so steady. There's no roller coaster in their emotions. And yeah, you won, but you come in today and it's the exact same day this Monday as it was last Monday or 2 weeks ago. Like, their process remains the same. And I think that's the most important thing for a player is you come in, you're all excited. Maybe you had a couple pops with your buddy after the game to celebrate, and you're ready to like sort of come in flying high and forget about the details. And Stefanski sits you down in the same chair, and you go through the exact same process that you did the week before, and quickly you snap in and understand, okay, I got work to do. Let's go. On to the Patriots, right? And that's the mentality that Belichick has had forever. And the only thing I would say with facing Belichick for the first time is you can't be who you were on tape last week or the last 4 weeks, really. You've got to take your tendencies and figure out, okay, this is how I think they're going to align and try to attack our tendencies when we do these things, and do something different. Try to confuse them, because they're really good, especially on defense, of being rules-based. Like Belichick and his team of 5 unpaid assistants that just sit in there and watch film 24/7, they're going to come up with, okay, when they're in a 3-by-1 at this part of the field, this is what they're going to try to do. So these are the 5 rules that we teach our defense. Hey, when they get to here, this is your check. And I've had a bunch of defensive coordinators that came from New England, and they had a million checks. Every time you're on the field, you motion or you shift or you do something. Hey, check AFC, check DFS, check this, check that. And what they're doing is trying to get into the most advantageous position for whatever your tendency is. And so what you got to do is either screw up their checks by lining up differently where they don't have a check, where they haven't seen it on film, or lining up and giving them one look and then doing the counter to be able to try to take advantage of them trying to guess what you're doing. If you can do that, you can confuse them and you can win the game.
I love that. Next level Hoffness right there. Just
I love
breaking it down.
When you get into scientific notice. Hoff, let me ask you, a crazy day. The NFL was just drunk with the games yesterday. Biggest shock to you, Denver going up 30-0 at Dallas, or Jacksonville beating the Bills 9-6. 6 for Josh Allen and the boys.
Yeah.
He wasn't even the best
to
Josh
me,
Allen
the
on the
Bills
field.
game was surprising. Josh Allen, number 2, was not the better of the defensive version of himself. That's shocking, but not totally shocking, because the Bills are kind of constructed as a team that only wins when Josh Allen does extra stuff that's outside of the playbook. They can't run the ball. Defense has been good, but they haven't played anybody. Their wins have come against the worst teams in the NFL. And so it's not entirely surprising to me. The shocking game was Cowboys-Broncos, because my opinion of the Broncos was not much better than like the Texans and the Jaguars. I didn't think they had anything on offense. I thought their defense is overrated as hell. And all of a sudden, to go in against the Cowboys, who last week had Cooper Rush win a football game for them handily, and to be down 30-0 at one point, it was one of those games where you can clearly just put it in a box and you throw that tape away as a coach, because the coaching staff seemed to overlook them. The players came out lackadaisical. And even though Dak was back, he just looked off. He kind of looked rusty, right? He missed on so many throws high. He missed guys that were wide open. Amari Cooper, I don't think he had a drop all season. He had a big drop in this game. So across the board, everybody was bad. That was easily the most shocking performance.
It really was stunning. We got a question for you real quick, Hoff, from a guy who said, when you were talking about getting so excited about a play, do you have a play? He wanted to know if you had a play that you recalled where you did get so excited, or one was called in where you as the left tackle and you guys on the offensive line were so pumped. It's from Cleveland Jared. He said, what's a play you remember loving to run, or one that was very effective that would get you pumped whenever you heard it being called?
Yeah, oh gosh. The funny thing is I don't remember the name of it, because we had so many different offenses. I played with 9 different offenses, so we had so many different names for the same stuff. But I do remember it was a Shanahan play. It was a weak side zone with the fullback as the lead, but the fullback would lead in on the defensive end. So typically when you run in weak side lead zone, the tackle's got the defensive end, the inside guy's combination to the second linebacker, the fullback's got the first linebacker. If they drop down the weak safety, now everybody adjusts, and the fullback's got the weak safety. The first combination has the weak linebacker. But in this scheme, what you do is you put your fullback in short motion from the eye, so he's coming weak. And then the combination is between the play side tackle and guard. So Joel and I would double team the 3 technique, who's the defensive tackle over the guard, up to the first linebacker or the first safety spot. The fullback cuts the defensive end, so the defensive end is not thinking, hey, the fullback's coming at me, it's weak side zone. I gave him a little head and shoulders fake, so I drew his eyes. Then the fullback cuts him. I double team with Joel. I use my speed, get up and hook the linebacker. The quarterback takes the ball and he actually tosses it to the running back, which typically you don't toss it out of the weak side zone under center. But that allows him to get outside that play. And when you get man coverage on the outside, your receiver to that side, if he's able to outside release, that corner will turn and run with him. So now you've got the whole field with the defensive end cut, and I've captured the contain of the defense, and there's nobody left all the way to the end zone. That was my favorite play. We ran it the first time with Isaiah Crowell against the Ravens. It worked great. And then a couple years later, I installed that to our defense or our offense, because I was like, guys, this is such a great play versus this front. It's so good because Joel and I, we can run, and the fullback can easily cut that defensive end. And we put it in, and so, of course, now I've got ownership of this play, right? Like, I own this. If it doesn't work, it's my ass is grass. So I'm like, babe, we better make this thing work. So I was really excited. Thankfully, it turned out, and it worked. And we were able to kind of keep that as a little bit of a nice change up from just kind of your standard weak side zone. But that, out of all the plays we ran, I think that was probably the one I was most excited for because I had the most on the line. My reputation as an offensive coordinator was at stake.
I give you an advantage over Larry David then in your quest to become an offensive coordinator. You have a play that actually
He's got a play that works. Hoff, you're the
Yes,
best, buddy.
exactly.
Love talking to you, brother.
Legend.
Love you guys. Thanks for having me. Go Brownies. Let's go, baby!
We're back!
The Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau here for Raising Cane's. What do you get when you combine the best ingredients with the best crew? You get Raising Cane's quality chicken finger meals made just for you. Join the crew, ready to safely serve the community. Apply today at workatcanes.com or text RC Jobs to 97211. Standard message rates may apply. Raising Cane's, one love. Monday Night Football, the best versus Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. Chicago 7 of them.
Fields.
Oh, boy.
27.
The pride of the Buckeye State.
Does a solid for Ohio.
Let's go.
Steelers 24. Let's go.
Time. Let's go. Always fun on a Victory Monday. We're back tomorrow.
It's too
Cleveland Browns
short on a
Daily.
Victory Monday.
850 ESPN Cleveland.